Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I'm Lauren. I'm a wife and a new mom. I came up with the idea of this podcast after struggling to find mommy groups around me when my son was born. I wanted a community of mothers I heard so many of my friends talk about when they had their children. This podcast is to help mothers like me that want a community of mothers to connect with when they have their free time. Together with my usual guest, Taryn, and other mothers, we will share our experiences, not our advice, through motherhood, and hopefully get some tips from you, the listeners. So come join us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and I am here with Taryn.
Hi, everyone.
And I can't even remember if in the introduction it says the ages of our kids, but my child is 15 months old, and your twins are...
They're 10.
They're 10.
Yes. Big year.
So today we are talking about going back to school as a mom. Taryn is actually doing this.
Yes, I'm currently back to school.
Yes.
Not working, not teaching, like being a student.
Right. Just getting a degree in something. So I think what I saw as I became a mother was I saw a lot of my friends change jobs when they became moms.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it stems from they had this great job that took a lot of their time.
Yep.
And maybe they weren't earning as much, or maybe they weren't getting out of their job as much as they wanted to, or they were doing it to just earn the money.
Right.
And it wasn't making them happy at all. I mean, there's many reasons people take jobs, but
right.
That's one of them. So I think that that's an important thing, is talking about why moms would want to go back to school. You have a kid. There's already a major time commitment there.
Right. You're working full time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now you want to add into this, I'm going to go back to school thing too. So how about you talk a little bit about your motivations?
Sure. So I'm like a perpetual learner. I love being a student and learning new things in any capacity. It doesn't have to be getting a degree, but I like to learn.
And we're both teachers, in case no one knows that.
If we haven't made it obvious in past podcasts.
Right. But if this is your first time listening, we are both high school
teachers. I teach math, and I knew early on when I was teaching that I loved working with kids, and I loved helping kids understand and feel good about themselves. And I didn't necessarily love math. I was really good at math when I was in high school, so it seemed like an easy degree to get so that I could be guaranteed a teaching position, because math teachers are needed everywhere. So I quickly knew I wasn't going to retire a math teacher, but at the time it was serving its purpose. I was teaching. I could devote all of my time to it. And there was that like, what next type of nagging. So I went back to school to get my administrative certification, which is in Connecticut called an 092. And while I was doing that program, I got pregnant. So my intention was to complete the program in 2 years tops and use it shortly after. And twins changed that trajectory. So it ended up taking me about 5 or 6 years to complete, because I would do one class at a time.
So wait, after you had the twins, you had to continue taking classes?
I continued taking classes. So when I had the twins, it was over the summer. I took the whole summer off. I took the fall semester off, and I went back in spring taking one class that I would go once a week, and I worked out with the professor that I would have modified assignments, because he was my professor when I found out I was pregnant. So I was able to ease back into it, and it actually made the course load manageable, because I wasn't doing half the reading, and I was still preparing for the same exams, but on an extended schedule instead of this expedited track that most people get the degree on. So right. I finished that in 2012-ish. And it was just the way of life. Taking a grad class with my kids was all I really knew, except for like the first 6 months of their life.
Right.
But it was one class at a time, and it was slow and steady. And when I finished it, I realized that I would need a lot more experiences as a teacher to get a job as an administrator, more professional development, running professional development, being a part of meetings. And I couldn't devote my time to that because I finally had time to give to my kids and I could be the mom that I wanted to be for them. So I had this 092 degree and realized like maybe I'll become an administrator. I don't know. Right. I don't know if that's really for me. What I still know for sure, teaching math for the rest of my life is not going to happen because I just don't find the joy in it anymore. I find the joy in connecting with the students. I find the joy in watching students who are struggling not struggle anymore, not necessarily with math, but with a boy problem or with a parent issue. Like I like being there for them to help them. And I started seeing that a lot of teachers were of an old school mindset where they did something wrong, they should get punished, there should be a consequence, and it should be taken care of. And it didn't sit well with me. And I was like, but why are they acting that way? What has caused them to act that way? And I found I connected even better with students who came with a lot of baggage because they would act out and I'd be like, why? What's going on? I was curious as to their story. So we were offered at the beginning of last year training in becoming a trauma-informed school. And it was like a train the trainer scenario. And we had Joe Brummer come and do this 6-day training with us. And it was amazing. And it was during the school day, so I didn't have to take time out of my after school life. And I was so grateful for the experience. And I thought to myself, this was awesome and just scraped the surface of the philosophy that I've been embracing for my entire life. A quick background on that is trauma-informed schools look at the whole student, not just at the math student or the English student. They're acting this way. Why? What social lags, what emotional lags do they have? What trauma are they coming to us with? And how can we help them use that to their benefit as opposed to using it to get attention by getting in trouble? And why is there a 5-day suspension? Why is there a 10-day suspension? Those numbers are so arbitrary. And are the kids learning and fixing what they've done wrong? Or are they just grateful that they get 5 to 10 days out of school? So I knew that this was something that I was truly passionate about and decided to get my master's in restorative justice, which is one component of being a trauma-informed school is using restorative justice and restorative practices to help your kids. So now I'm back in school. I have been since the beginning of the summer, and it is way more time than I ever remember. I am so overwhelmed because these are summer sessions, so it's 1 week per class. I have about 200 pages of reading a week and one small assignment and one big assignment that's due every week. And I don't have the time that I thought I would, forgetting all of the accommodations that were made for me when I had first had my kids and forgetting that I was taking one class at a time. I wasn't a full-time student, and now I am a full-time student.
Right.
But I also know that my kids need to see me doing something that makes me happy, because when I come home from school and I'm frustrated over math curriculum, I'm not pleasant for anyone to be around. I'm not fit for human consumption, as Brene Brown would say. I need to make a change in my career because I am passionate about working with kids and helping them improve their lives. I don't care if they can solve an equation. I don't care if I get through the 8 units by the end of the school year. I care that my kids feel like they're loved and taken care of. And I'm hoping through this and the push for schools to become more restorative and trauma-informed, I can help be an asset to the district. Still at the teacher level, I'm not saying I want to be an administrator doing this. Maybe. I don't know. this is a new position that's
right, growing.
So, I mean, if I play my cards right, there will be a restorative justice specialist in the school, and it will be me.
Right.
To really help those kids deal with being in class, almost as an additional support for the social emotional learning that needs to take place with our students.
Right. And I think a lot of the stuff that you talked about is you've done this twice. You've gone back to school when your kids were little,
Mm-hmm.
and you took one class at a time, and it was a different pace.
Yeah.
And
it was like I was on a 504 plan for my 09 too. Like it was, I truly advocated for myself to make it reasonable.
Right. And I think, because I've been through the same 092 program also, I think it's definitely it's one of the more it's not a whole degree.
Right.
It's, a certain number of classes that you're taking. So it's a little different. And it's more about, there's a test.
It's more about, this is how you prepare for the test. The classes, you could take them or leave them. Like I'm not a grade focused person. So I was like, as long as I do the assignments and I do well on the test, I'm not putting in 100% effort because I have newborns at home or infants at home that are more important to me.
And you probably were able to do some of your work, on after they went to bed.
Yeah. Or during the school day, because some of the work was doing observations of other teachers. Right. Like it was workable within the confines of my work day.
So, yes. So that's probably easier. And even though your kids are 10 right now, it doesn't mean you have more time to yourself.
No. And having a new dog on top of it. Like I was like, oh, it'll be great. When they go to camp, I'll get my work done. So 4 weeks of this 7-week session will be like such a breeze. I can't even sit and read without my dog trying to take my phone or the remote or a throw pillow. Like, so I don't have this downtime luxury I would have had without a puppy.
And you're getting a degree through a law
school. Yeah.
So it's very law based and much. I don't want to say teaching degrees are easier, but they're in our language.
Yeah, I know teacher language. I don't know lawyer language. I don't know how to read a lawsuit. I don't know how to do a case brief. I don't know that stuff.
So how do you fit in time to get in the work that needs to be done?
I put it in my calendar. Like I'll say, mommy needs to work so my kids go to bed at 9:00 over the summer. So I'll say mommy needs to work from 7 to 9 because that's their downtime. We've eaten dinner. They're probably watching TV at that point or playing cards with my husband or doing something that I don't have to be there for. Right. And I have 3 other people to watch the dog.
Right.
So I'll say like, I'm going up into my room. Give me 2 hours. As soon as these 2 hours are done, I'm all yours.
Right.
And just setting those boundaries, not so much for them because they'll still interrupt me if my husband gives them the chance. But setting them for me and knowing that I'm doing this to get a pay increase, 1, and 2, to open up the door to so many different opportunities where I can do something that I'm truly passionate about and I can actually get up. And I love going to work and being with my coworkers and being with the students. Don't get me wrong. Like I love teaching.
Right.
I want to love what I do when I'm actually physically teaching. So I want my kids to see the true joy, and I want them to see a parent that's doing something that they really love, that sparks their fire, that gets them going. And even taking the course I'm taking now, I find myself talking about it with different people.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's so cool. You might have heard in a previous podcast me talking about some African philosophies from the grad course that I'm taking now.
You had something about in the Rwanda Constitution.
Oh my God, yeah. So in Rwanda, there was a genocide in 1994, and they're rebuilding their government still, and they're using restorative practices and restorative justice to bring justice to the criminals that caused the genocide, but in a way where they can still live at peace with each other. And equality for them is one of their number one pillars. So equal pay. If you have the same education and you're applying for the same job, you make the same amount of money. There were just so many things that I was like, oh my God, maybe I should move to Rwanda because, oh man, like they're just, it's so clear that they're coming from a place of the community is the center. And even if there's a wrongdoing, you've harmed the community, you've harmed the victim, but the offender is also being harmed in some way.
Right.
Because are they living with a lie? Are they what's going on? So they have a way where offenders pay back their debt to the community. For example, some of the Rwandan offenders wear uniform because they're still in prison. It's not the same as the United States prison, but they stand on the side of the road chanting their love and their excitement for being Rwandan, not for being from the tribe that they were originally from, but for being part of the country Rwanda. And they came up with that on their own as a way to pay their debt back to society so that the victims could feel safe and new people coming into the country could feel safe and see that there is peace and community among them. So
yeah, it's just I remember, so we obviously are on opposite tracks school wise. So when I first graduated, I remember being like, oh, teaching's what I'm going to do later on in life. And that didn't work out. So I just started teaching almost. I went back to school immediately to get a degree. So I started with my TESOL degree, which is teaching English as a second language. So I started there. Then I got my special ed degree. And then I remember someone in the state contacted me and said, if you take this test, you can become a history teacher. So I took a test and I became a history teacher. So I had those 3 certifications. And I remember one of my friends being like, well, just go get your administrative degree. They're like, it's 6 classes at that point because
you had already done
those
some
masters, right? So I had done some. So I was like, all right. I'm like, I guess. Because I was like, if I don't do it now, I don't think I will go back and do it. And at this point, I was still single. And I was like, well, what else do I have to do? Like, there's nothing else I can do. And when I tell you I got these degrees, like, I got my TESOL degree in a year. I did a whole 30 credits in 1 year. But I would take 4 classes at a time.
Right.
And I would take every summer class I could. And I did the same thing with my special ed masters. And this, the history thing, I studied for like a week and then took the test. But then for the 092, I was like, all right, I'm going to just bang this out in a year. And I took, I remember I took these classes. And I remember there were people in there. And all they kept saying to me is, you are so lucky you are doing this now.
Yes.
Just get it all done now so you don't have to do it when you have kids.
I would tell that to my younger self.
Yeah.
Like, do it now.
Like, I'm just so grateful. I mean, because in teaching, the only way to get a higher pay scale is with more degrees.
Right.
So until you have the maximum of a number of degrees minus a PhD honestly doesn't give you anything unless you're an administrator. So there's no point to it. I can't even imagine now.
I already, I started my classes and was like, okay, by next winter, I'll have my 30 credits done. And that's the only thing that keeps me going, is knowing that it'll be a year and a half and I'll be done. I don't know if I could do this for the way I did my 092, where I went one class at a time, where it took 5 years for me to complete it. Like, I'm not at that place in my life. Like, I need to get it all done before my kids are technically tweens now. Like, I want to get this done before they go to middle school, because I know it's traumatic for them. Right. I had a traumatic middle school experience. I don't know many people who did not have some sort of trauma in middle school that their parents needed to be there for them. So I want this done before they get there.
Right.
So that I can be present there for them, and maybe even working within the district in a job that I like more, because then I could even be there for them more, because I won't be spending the energy doing the mundane stuff that I need to do for math.
Right. And I think that you mapping out that time, I have no idea how anyone does an undergraduate degree with kids.
Oh God. I have no idea.
You work very hard. That's all I can say.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that mapping out that time, saying this is my time, and sticking to it and making it important to you, and them just knowing. I think kids even just knowing, like, mommy's busy at this point. You can't.
And it's showing them my work ethic. Right. I'm a full-time mom, I'm a full-time teacher, and I'm a full-time student, and everything is equally important to me. I mean, being a mom is more important, but look, I'm doing my work as a teacher and my work as a student, and I'm turning my stuff in on time, and I'm being thoughtful about it. I'm not rushing through it. And you can do this too. Right.
And your dreams are allowed to change, and you're allowed to take a certain path. It's not like when, again, I thought I was like, oh, later in life I'll become a teacher. So, I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And if I look back to when I first got my teaching certificate, I knew that working with kids was always going to be something I did, but I didn't know in what capacity.
Right.
And I thought about getting a counseling degree or a social work degree. Like, I was like, I don't know where this part of my passion comes into play in my career. I know that it needs to.
Right.
And I grew up with parents who they got a job and they did that job until they retired, and that's just not the way anymore, and that's weird for me. I need to get over that, and I need to be comfortable with it being okay, saying I was a math teacher and now I'm this. Or I need to be okay, and this is a block from growing up, like that I'm a female in a position of power if I do become an administrator.
Right.
Because in my life, the woman was, my examples were the woman was submissive and the male is the one that did like the big things around the house and dealt with the finances. And that's not how my marriage is. That's not how I want it to be. And that's not what I want for my kids.
Right.
But when it comes into the workplace, I'm like, well, who's going to listen to me as an authority? Like, who am I compared to everyone else? Which is part of why I'm also getting all these degrees. So I could at least say like, yeah, but I also have this degree. So it's coming from a place of knowledge. It's not just coming from because I really like kids and they shouldn't get suspended anymore. Yeah. So it's getting over those personal blocks to be my best self that I need to work on, as well as I just love learning and going to school. And I don't plan on doing any more schooling after this. Like, that'll get me all the way to the right on our pay scale. And that's fine. Like, that's it.
Yeah. I always think like, oh, I should just go back for curriculum. Then I would have everything.
Right.
And I'm like, I need to stop. Like, I'm not getting any more degrees. Like, I am done. 3 masters are plenty.
Yeah. And that's where I am too, because I have my master's in education. My 092 is 30 credits. So that, even though it wasn't a master's, it's a certificate. It's the same amount of credits. And this is a master's. So I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Right.
I'm good.
But it's good to find your passion in something. And is your degree online?
Yes, my degree's online, so I don't have to travel. I'm at Vermont Law School, but I'm doing it remotely.
Right. And I think that's a lot of master's programs are definitely more open to that. And I think that makes a big difference too, because being able to, okay, well, I have to get, this is when this is, and I could just be in my house, or I could go to the library or, a coffee shop or something like that to get this stuff done. I can do it. And I think the ease of it makes it easier for moms to get this done.
To fit it in where you can. Like, if 7 to 9 doesn't work, I'll steal a half an hour here. I'll put them to bed and I'll stay up and read.
Or this weekend I can catch up.
Right, exactly. And I've come to, this is the second course now, and the setup is pretty similar. So I've come into a routine, because it'll be 14 weeks of classes by the time it's over, that I can say, okay, so Tuesday and Wednesday are my days for reading. Thursday, I do my short assignment and submit it. Friday, I work on my long assignment, finish it over the weekend, submit it Monday, start again on. Like, I have that routine.
Yeah.
Now, is it perfect all the time? No, but it's pretty close, and it's close enough that it keeps me on track. So it is what it is.
Right. So you can do it, moms.
Yes.
If you want to go back, if you need a job change, you
Don't
can
be
do it.
afraid. Don't be afraid. Just do it.
Right. The money is super scary. I understand that.
Yeah. Let me tell you, taking out student loans to pay for this, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be paying my student loans off until my kids go to college. And I'm also going to be doing what I love, so I don't care.
Right.
Like, it's the trade-off.
Yeah. Money's such a tough thing, but yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. If you guys have any questions for me or want any information about restorative justice or restorative practices, I'd like to hear.
Yes. And if you have any suggestions how you mapped out how you went back to school or how you think you're going to do it when you do go back to school, let us know.
Or any stories on a career change you've already taken.
I know. I started doing 1 or 2 career changes earlier this year. So I think I'm going to do that, is have some more people come on about their career changes. So I'll have to do that. All right. Well, if you want to follow us, Instagram, Twitter, internet, Instagram. Yeah. Mommy Escape Time. And let us know your thoughts, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.